Hello, I am Bentham and welcome back to Factorio Railworld, where in the previous episode we finally set off from the midpoint on the second leg of our journey around the lake, and we've made our way into the middle of a desert. We've got the megatrain here, nicely loaded. It's got plenty of stuff. There's like 5+ stacks of destroyer drones available, tons of ammo and things, so it's all good. We're going to see how far we can get. I'm hoping we can get all the way around, but I'm thinking that is not the case, considering just how quickly we're burning through our destroyer drones with the new behemoth biters and spitters and such. So anyway, in today's episode we are going to be making our way around the northeast point of the lake. This is an important milestone because it marks one of the most dangerous points, because the further away you get from the spawn point, the bigger and denser and more close together all of the biter bases are, and this is one of those furthest points. After this, we start going south again and get quite a bit closer to the main base before we have to go north again, and I think the northwest point is the most dangerous one. I think it goes further north than this one, so this will be a taste of what is to come. It's going to get very difficult. You can see there on the map that the northwest point does go a bit further, but this one is pretty major. It's very fiddly as well. This bit of the lake seems to be very different from the rest of it. The rest of it is just this one big open expanse. This one's got a lot more fiddly bits around it. Anyway, we're hopping on board a little single train thing, because I want to make my way down to this little outcropping of land here. You can see I just reversed the train while it was on the tracks and I was in it, because Factorio magic, the power of R is terrifying sometimes. So we're going to clear out a bit of a space here, and we're going to build ourselves a little radar outpost. I need to do more of these, I keep meaning to. I've got this sort of vague intention of some big mission later on where I go all the way around the lake and fit dozens of radars in sort of one go, rather than doing them as I go along here. Partly because I can't be bothered. You have to carry around all the solar panels and radars and stuff. I do have some radars. Well, I do have the materials on me now because I grabbed a stack of solar panels from the train, but my inventory is a bit full right now. There's all sorts of random stuff. Lots of it I don't really need for this mission. I've just ended up gathering it up from factory work. But anyway, we're going to go in to attack some of the bases now. We've deployed, I think, 50 bots, something along those lines. That's sort of the rule that I'm going off. I'm basically saying any sort of smallish base, 50 bots will do. If it gets pretty serious, we can go up to 80. And that seems to be decent enough at dealing with the situation. So there's another base over here. This one's just got 5 spawners and a worm, but there is a larger one beyond it. It's one of those sort of stretched out bases that are easier to deal with, because you don't have to fight all the base at once. This one is a little bit more hefty though, and we quickly find ourselves being overwhelmed. The shields are very nearly destroyed, and we end up running as quickly as we can away from them, as the bots slowly take out the behemoth biters. Eventually all the biters are gone, and then it is not too difficult to deal with the spitters. I do find that the biters are a lot better equipped than the spitters in on every level. So while the biters can take quite a punch, the spitters can usually be dealt with fairly easily. You probably wouldn't need that many bots to deal with them. The only issue is when they build up, which is very easy because you're dealing with the biters. The spitters are in the sidelines, and then they suddenly start wrecking you. Anyway, speaking of which, we came extremely close to death, even closer than last time, and I ended up even deploying some poison capsules and slowdown capsules to help survive, because the biters were tearing into me, and the only way I could hold them off long enough to gain a bit of shield power was to drop a slowdown capsule and get them to just to slow them down for a minute so I could get a bit of distance on them. And it does seem quite effective. It's like, you don't see the effect. I would like it if there was some sort of like blue haze that appeared for a second just to demonstrate like the area of effect. But you can sort of see a circular group of biters slows down, and then they sort of block all the others as well, which is good. The queue sort of all piles up, and then the ones at the back start going around the outside. So it is quite effective at stopping them. That time I came even closer to death. This time they managed to take out my shields entirely. You can see there's a ridiculously large group of them running at me. And that was with, I think it was going in with 80 bots to that base just to the north. And it was really causing some trouble. And that is the northmost point of this area, so it is going to be the area with the worst biters. So we've lost some bots, but we've resupplied some, and slowly we're backing away and dealing with them until eventually we can just run in and take out the remaining ones. You see there's quite a trail of carnage from the base we were in. So I decided to change tactic a bit. Instead of going for the one in the north, I'm going to go for the ones in the south first, because I keep running through the ones in the south as I'm running from the one in the north, and that's not really a good way to go about things. Also making more use of poison capsules. I'm realizing that they can be quite useful against worms. You deploy like 5 of them and it can take out, I think, any worm before it runs out. So if you just dump a bunch of them in the middle of a base where all the worms are, you can easily take them out without having to worry about it. So these bases are a little bit easier to deal with, they're not so big, and we're managing to keep on top of the biters as they come at us. It's all about the balance with the destroyer drones. If you have enough, then you can constantly deal with the biters as they run at you. But if you have just a few, too few, then a couple of biters survive in each sort of wave of them, and it keeps building up until there's far too many. They start taking out the bots, and then they start taking out you, and it can escalate from there. So you got to make sure that you have sort of the right number. But I'm trying to be frugal as possible with it, because they're extremely expensive to make, all of the speed modules and stuff required, and you need to make something like 16 or 20 like defender bots to make one of these. It's a bit ridiculous, and we're making them as fast as we can, and it looks like they're going to be running out before we finish at this rate. So yeah, I'm always deploying like as few as I think I can get away with, and it often ends up with things going sour. And the annoying thing about that is that you can end up using up more bots than otherwise, because if you go in with, say, 100 bots and you're fine, then that's all good. But if you go in with 80 and then a bunch of them get killed and you have to replace them, you might end up spending more than 100 bots anyway. You might still end up having to run off and then go back into the base later. So there's a couple of times in this particular episode where I gamble and lose and end up having to fall back as I get chased down by various biters and spitters that are not very happy with me. In the end, I actually decided to not bother with the northernmost bases. I've managed to scan all the water I can see. That was part of my aim, because even if the water wasn't connected to the main lake, I still wanted to be able to see where it all sort of finished up, and I have managed to see the edge of it. So I'm going to leave it there. There's plenty of room for the train to go past, and with any luck, the biters will not be bothered about it, and that'll all be fine. So continuing our rail up to the north, checking positions and stuff, working out where we can run it through. Always trying to keep sort of nice and close to the lake where possible, but also trying to keep as few corners as possible. We don't want any 90-degree turns. They're banned from this line. It's not realistic anyway, having a 90-degree turn in a rail line. And that is sort of the thing I like least about the trains in Railworld, in Factorio, is that they're all 45-degree angles from each other. But it's a necessary thing for it to even function in this game. You'd have to have some sort of open. I don't even know what sort of game you'd need to have better rails than that, so I shouldn't complain. Anyway, deploying a bunch more biters. We're going to try, not biters, deploying more bots. I mean, there are more biters too, and I try the poison capsule tactic. There is a very large core of worms in this particular base, so I just spam them with poison capsules, and it is very easily dealt with, and then we can quickly run around the rest of it and take it out without too much difficulty. We also go to this one here, but we decide to abandon this one after the biters very quickly prove that they do not want to be messed with, so we end up falling back once again with like 80 bots handy. I try using poison capsules on the chasing biters. The thing is, it's sort of useless. I did a little bit of a test on a different game where I had a full stack of poison capsules, and I drew the attention of a couple of behemoth biters and spitters, and then ran away from them, deploying poison as I went, like on top of wherever they were stood at the time, meaning that each of them ran through 100 poison clouds that were deployed as fast as I could deploy them, and they didn't even they didn't even lose half the health. It was ridiculous. So they are pretty much useless against new biters. I think we may need some weapon balancing going on, because all of these weapons were designed to deal with big biters. Admittedly designed to like completely annihilate them at a certain level, but still there's been nothing designed specifically to deal with the behemoth biters. So I would like to see some slightly more powerful weapons, just something that means I don't have to bring quite so many destroyer drones into play. If I could get the number back down to 30 and then just use a better gun or a better power suit or something, that would be fantastic. But anyway, continuing on, we've left the two big bases in the north. Neither of them are proving very easy to deal with, so we're just going to ignore them. And we're going to carry on, now going south again. So we're making our way back towards the, back in the direction of the base. Let's not say towards the base, because there is a giant lake in the way. and it's going to get worse before it gets better. Actually, no, it's going to get better first, and then it's going to get worse again, but significantly worse than the previous worst before getting better for a final time. A particular problem with the northwest point is that because by that point I'd given up and I was just running, there's no open areas. At least with here, a lot of the biters have been cleared out. You can see there's a couple of bits going into the lake where the biters haven't reached. They've mostly made their way back up to the shoreline of the lake itself, but there are extra bits that have remained empty since my previous visit. And we'll see some alien artifacts later in there that I need to pick up. But yeah, with the by the time I reached the northwest, I was pretty much done. We were out of supplies, and it very quickly devolved into just running as fast as I can away from the biters, who to this day are probably hanging around, waiting for me to turn up, because I thought they would chase me to the ends of the earth, but they actually stopped, didn't follow, which is sort of a shame. I was looking forward to like a Helm's Deep sort of scenario in Iron Outpost 2, sort of holding off the endless waves of biters until eventually we had to give up and like take the train home or something like that. But that never came in the end. We escaped and they gave up. But they may still be out there waiting in their droves, or maybe they've returned to their bases. I don't really know how it's worked. Now we'll have to have a close look at the situation when we get back. Though the route that we took back at the end of the war for the lake is probably completely different from the route that the train will be taking, because I stopped like following the line of the lake while I was running. I was just trying to be as far away from biter bases as possible at any time while continuing forward. So I lost sight of the shoreline, and I don't know what it does. It might go all over the place, for all I know. We'll have to find out when we get there. But we'll take a bit of a detour to check my escape route and see what it looks like. Anyway, we've continued to push forward. We've got a nice open area now, going towards the south, and we'll soon be running the rails through here. I'm just running around resupplying on artifacts, switching to the lighter power suit because we're pretty safe now. There's no biters particularly near, and we'll make sure to keep it that way. We'll not try and get a bit too close to any of the bases. There were some alien artifacts back at the northeast point, right at the point, that I didn't bother to pick up because they were very near to bases, and I didn't really want to have that trouble, particularly while I'm in the lighter suit. Because it's much easier for the biters to destroy it. It's got less than half the shields, I think. Actually, no, it's got just slightly over half the shields of the heavy suit. But that is quite a significant difference. It means I'll survive half the time, pretty much. Though it still has the same charging rate, that definitely helps. Anyway, we're now going to move up the megatrain. We've gone west for a while, and we're about to start going south. So yeah, definite progress, and it's... In a way, it's annoying that we're doing this. We're like, I guess if we went as the crow flies, well, not as the crow flies would not make any sense in a circumnavigation of a lake. Like if I went the shortest route possible, then we would just be continuing to the west at this point, right across to the bases, and it would be quicker, not right across to the northwest point. But I do want to keep in sight of the lake at all times. I want every sort of line to like touch the lake at its the apex or whatever you want to call it. It makes a more scenic view. It's possible that later on I'll make an express line that like takes the quick route round rather than sort of having a look at all the scenery. You can see there I'm completely messing up my blueprints. Managed to misplace it twice and have to deconstruct it again before we managed to get it right. But there we go. We've got it pretty much as diagonal as we want to go, and I think from here we go south. I'm still trying to work it out because I've got this sort of rule set in my head that I've not really properly explained that determines how I position the rails. And this particular area of the lake is fiddly for it. I have to sort of, because I do have to work backwards on some of the lines to make them match up nicely. And with this one, I sort of have to work backwards all the way from the northwest point. I'm not going to bother with that, but it will mean it's a bit awkward in places, I think. There might be some sort of sidestepping point. Which I don't like to do. I want it to be sort of as Roman road-like as possible. That is the ultimate aim. Minimum number of corners, straight lines wherever possible, and the only thing that stops them being straight lines is like impassable terrain, or something like that. Anyway, continuing with dealing with the biters. I'm sort of doing it in waves. I have a wave of being in the normal power suit, where I deploy a bunch of bots, and then when the bots all start exploding, I will switch over to the light power suit. and gather up the materials. I'm trying to, of course, get the most mileage I can out of the bots. What I've also done is I've switched to using 100 bots for the large bases instead of 80, because I kept finding that when I went in with 80, the biters just overwhelmed me. And when I go in with 80, I seem to be able to just walk in and the base gets destroyed, rather than me even having to shoot it. So I guess there is really a huge difference in just like, I guess, adding 25% more bots to it. I think I'm not actually going quite up to 100, it's just like always in the 90s, making sure it's staying in the high 90s. And that is helping, as you can see. Just walk through it, it's fine. I mean, that was a fairly small one, but there were some bigger ones where I'm just walking in as well. The smaller ones I don't even need to shoot if I don't want to, though I am making sure to where possible. I do find that I keep running out of shotgun ammo, though. I need to keep an eye on that. There were a couple of times where I suddenly found myself unable to shoot anymore, having to switch to the assault rifle, which is alright. It's brilliant for bases, but it seems to be absolutely terrible for dealing with the biters, particularly considering it can only hit one at once. So it is sort of, it's more efficient in its bullets, because like with a shotgun, I think the damage reduces with distance, and also shots can miss, whereas an assault rifle hits 100% of the time. And I'm yet to use the rocket launcher. I don't really have much faith in it, but I should probably like test it out a bit more, because with there being so many biters in such large groups, it might be fairly effective to use the explosive ammo. I think that's the one I've got. If I remember rightly, the explosive ammo is better than the standard ammo. I'm not sure what the numbers are, but I imagine it's something like a quarter of the damage, but area of effect. So as long as you hit more than 4 things, you're good. And also there's less sort of overkill with it. If there's something that doesn't, like something that's got, for example, 10 health, and you have a gun that fires 40, you might as well split it between 4. And you'll still kill them all. Anyway, gathering up the last of the alien artifacts around here. I think there's not much left, but I think there is a bit over to the southeast here, which is full of alien artifacts, particularly alien artifacts from my previous visit. I seem to remember that there was that I went on a bit of a mission around here, just trying to clear this whole bit out, and it seems to have worked. Surprisingly enough, in the time I've been gone, the biters have not they've not recolonized this. There's one biter base down in the south, but I think that's it, which is quite cool. Also, I've noticed this looks like, so it looks like a sort of beetle or something. I'm sort of still on the gnarled horn of it, and it's got a mouth there, and it's got like some front claw things. I don't even know. I'm just coming up with it. It's like cloud watching. It's the Factorio version of cloud watching. Also, I decide to build a new radar outpost here. Even though we've got one just to the south of here, it sort of makes sense. Actually, it doesn't make that much sense. Really, what would have made sense is to stick it at the northernmost safe point, and that would have scanned the most area. But I wanted to put it there because it was a nice little sort of niche, or nook even, a nook or a cranny or whatever. And that's sort of where I'm more inclined to put the radar outpost, because I feel like they're safer there, even though they've got no defenses. So if biters did turn up, they would be destroyed. I guess they're less likely to turn up in those little bits anyway. So I was grabbing a bunch of artifacts with the bots, and then suddenly I gathered the... Well, is gathered the right word? I drew the attention of some biters accidentally, and I suddenly find myself in a bit of a battle with them. So I take out the base. It's not too difficult to do it, but unfortunately we have some casualties, because we were using our construction bots at the time. Some of them were shot down and did not make it. I don't know the number. I think it was 2 or 3 that died. I know we had 45 before. So however many we end up gathering, that will show how many we've lost. So yeah, I do need to be more careful where I'm gathering the artifacts from, because we got a bit too close there and we lost some. I mean, we can only deploy, I think, 8 at once or 10. It's either 8 or 10. And so we're fine on supplies, but it's always a shame to lose one. It's a demonstration of you being rubbish at keeping hold of... I was trying to make a good sentence with that there, and I completely messed it up. Anyway, I spotted this base here, and I thought originally that it was on its own little island, but I actually realised that it is connected just by a bit quite off to the west of here. I fire a couple of poison capsules anyway to deal with some of the worms, because there is a very large group of worms at the back of it, and we'll have to get through the bases before we can get to them. So I've taken the edge off that, I guess, as much as I can. Having a look at the map, we're going to go back to rail building mode. It gets very messy in the west. Before we get to the northwest point, there's sort of a bit of a right angle, and it's full of all sorts of little bits of water and little bits of land, and it's all very awkward, and it'll be difficult to maneuver through potentially. We might just go around it depending on how it looks. But I'm sort of working out where we're going to go south here, but I want to make sure it lines up with in a diagonal way with the south line, which is what makes it awkward. We'll work it out, but we will do that in the next episode. We're pretty much done for today. We're going to make our way back to the megatrain. I think we're going to move it up to the front. We've got it set up to visit Station A, though I will probably forget to reset that at the beginning of next episode, as I often do. Oh no, I did it. There we go. Check up on the supplies, and it looks like we're all good. And then in the next episode, we will continue making our way towards the northwest point, where our most challenging our most challenging challenge lies. So I shall say goodbye. Thank you for watching, and I shall see you next time.